actually went this morning at 8 o'clock.
Not a lot, but whatever makes you happy. You gotta smoke though. I'm not knocking it. Thank God. I mentioned it. I said, hey, so maybe they give you like a t-shirt or something. Don't remember. This is the final copy.
Nice. Okay. Hi, Zaire.
So you got the students in there. On the back page.
Here, I screenshotted it. Oh, thank you.
You guys get a copy and take it.
Nice.
You guys are part of the team.
Really? Whoa! You look here.
The students on the updated.
Okay, wait. I'm doing the first thing.
See, we're on. If you don't mind.
Thank you, sir.
Just take my phone. No, you can, because you can do it now too.
No.
Okay. We don't need our phone.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the North Brunswick Township Board of Education regular public meeting. Today is Wednesday, September 24th. Could we all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Ali.
Here.
Mr. Carter.
Here.
Miss James.
Here.
Miss Keith.
Here.
Mr. Lagori.
Here.
Dr. Patel.
Here.
Mr. Singh.
Here.
Ms. Toth.
Here.
And Mr. Wen.
Here.
Oh, we have a quorum.
Thank you. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Law, the public notice of this meeting, which included the time, date, and location, was distributed by 3 p.m. on Tuesday, November 26, 2024, and Wednesday, November 27, 2024, in the following manner. Posted on the bulletin board reserved for announcements in the board office, 25 Linwood Place, North Brunswick. Mailed to the Home News Tribune, Star Ledger, NJ.com, and the clerk of the Township of North Brunswick, and delivered to the 9 duly elected board members. Well, good evening, everyone. It's nice to see some folks in our audience tonight. This is our first official public, regular public meeting of the school year. So officially as a board, we'd like to welcome everyone back. School has so far so good. We've heard from Dr. Zukowski and his team. We also officially have our 2 new student reps on the dais with us tonight. So I'd like to welcome Miss Montero again. Welcome back.
Thank you.
And then Miss Grayson Brockman, welcome to our team. So we'll call on you guys in a bit when we go into the student reports, and we'd love to learn a little bit more about you both at that point. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Dr. Zukowski. We do have a presentation tonight, so I'll have him open it up.
Yes, and welcome everyone. Thank you, Madam President, our Director of Accountability and Special Programs, and for all those, it's our person responsible for reporting out test scores, in this case, our NJSLA results of spring of 2025. Ms. Mercy Chen. Mercy?
Dr. Z, you forgot to address our millions of viewers today?
I do want to welcome millions of viewers, but during my minute, I'll circle back. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Board members, student reps, nice to see you. I'm going to pick this up, actually. I'm sorry I'm going to have my back to you, but thank you for coming to watch my presentation. Good evening, Mr. Bush, Mrs. Kita, Mrs. Hawk, and the millions of viewers online. I'm here today to present our NJSLA scores from the 24-25 school year. Before I begin, I would be remiss if I didn't say a big thank you to the North Brunswick Township staff. Everyone in some way or another assists us in this big endeavor. So thank you to the teachers who administer our assessments, and especially to the school test coordinators, who we call STCs, so you might hear that term, who are in charge of testing in their buildings. So I'm the DTC, but none of this can get done without the STCs. This year, we administered 6,736 tests. That includes ELA, math, and for 3 grade levels, science. We do test students in grades 3 to 9 as is required by state and federal law. These assessments do help us meet federal testing requirements, especially at the high school level. Grades 3 to 8, math students have 3 units, so sometimes you'll see that tests will be 2 days instead of 1. And math high school courses have 2 units, but a little bit longer. And then the science test is the longest with 4 units. ELA is only 2 units. All students must have started a test to receive a summative score. Ooh, click happy there. So our testing experience, I mean, it is obviously not everybody's favorite thing to do, including our students, but we do try to make it as bearable as possible. We are testing in classrooms with teachers that students are familiar with. At the high school and upper grades, sometimes we use the media center to test many students at once. Obviously, all of our students have their own Chromebooks, and all of those Chromebooks are prepped by our tech department, who I also would be remiss if I didn't thank, because there's a lot of Chromebooks being borrowed, loans, chargers, things dying, and everybody's always available to assist us. All people who administer the test must be certificated. Teachers can help students with technology questions, and they can clarify directions, but there's really not much else they can do to help students. Students can flag their questions and review them later, and they can change their answers. There are a few rules, such as if they leave the room because they're sick, there are certain questions they can't return back to, which we have to monitor very closely. So, for ELA and math, there are 5 proficiency levels. A lot of you have heard this before. Mr. Singh, this is your first rodeo here for this particular assessment. You'll notice that all of the assessments have different proficiency levels and bands, so it's hard to keep track of all of them, but for this assessment, there are 5. Levels 1, 2, and 3 are considered not passing. Levels 4 and 5 are considered passing. Obviously, 5 being the highest, exceeding your expectations, and 4 meeting your expectations. You'll see on your copy of the presentation the ranges for the levels. So we're basically looking for a 750 or higher. But we also, it's important to note, are always looking for growth in scale scores. So sometimes you'll see a particular grade level increase their scale score by 2 or 3 points. It might not move them up in the proficiency bands, but for us, that's growth. Does that make sense? Okay. So our overall results, we did see a decline in our average scale score for language arts. We saw an increase in our average scale score for math from last year to this year, and an increase in our average scale score for science. So, and then you can see on the right how we compare to the state. So our average scale score for ELA was a 757, and the state, what does that say? 737. I'm gonna get my glasses, excuse me. Sorry, 1 second. Who would have thought? Ooh, there we go. 737, and the state was a 749. The scale score average for the state is higher, but our proficiency bands is the same. They're both a 3. We've talked about this before. Obviously, we want to be on the higher ends, but at the end of the day, across the state, most students are scoring a 3, including North Brunswick. Our average for math is missing. I'm sorry about that. I do that sometimes. I will have to fill that in for you. Back to you, okay? All right, so now here's some data. I don't think we need to go grade by grade, but I'll highlight a few that stand out, okay? In grade 9, you'll notice a significant difference between the ELA average scale score in North Brunswick versus that of the state. When I review the 9th grade data, you're gonna see there was a decrease in scale points. In grade 8, you'll see a very close match, and both being a 4. Grade 8 was our highest performing grade for ELA. In grade 4, you'll see there's a 9-point difference between the state and our district, but still both at the 3rd proficiency level. And then here's a breakdown. So today we're talking about district scores. I will give you some highlights from each school, but today's presentation, as required by the state, is to present overall bigger picture data. So grade 3 combines all 4 schools. You'll see that 27% of our students scored in level 1, only 4% scored in level 5. That's a really hard one to get. And the majority of our students scored in a level 4. That is the case in most cases except for grade 9. The highest level 5 scorers was our grade 8 and followed by our grade 7. And then at the far ends in the lime green is our combined levels 4 and 5, which are your 2 passing levels. So at the district level, 34% of our 3rd graders passed the test, 46% of our 4th graders, which is an increase from last year. Only 34% of our 5th graders, similar 6th grade, only 4 percentage points higher. 7th grade, they're all about the same. And then 8th grade, you see that big jump, 58% of our students were proficient. And we have some color coding. All right, so that's supposed to be like magenta, because I didn't want red, because it's so negative. But green meaning something positive occurred, red meaning, unfortunately, a decrease. So when we're looking at these columns, you want the left, the changes in level 1 and 2, you always want those to go down. When you're looking at far right, levels 4 and 5, you always want those to go up. So anywhere you see red, it's because the inverse occurred. As you can see in grade 5, from last year to this year, we had additional students scoring in levels 1 and 2. We don't want to see that. Same for 7th grade, 10% additional students. This is not the same, it's not the same cohort. It's just comparing static 7th grade from last year to 7th grade from this year. But then on the positive side, you see 8th grade had a 15% increase in students scoring in levels 4 and 5. Grade 4, 1%, I mean, I'll take it. And grade 3, 5%. Level 3, I don't highlight. Those are students approaching. We want to see more going over there, but I don't want to dictate whether it's positive or negative because it depends on which bucket they moved from. If they moved from 1 and 2, then it's positive. If they ended up in level 3 as a drop, then it's negative, so we just leave it alone. And we have, as always, have to provide you with some subgroup data. We had 2,651 students take the ELA test. That does not include ESL students who are exempt if they're port of entry, which is port of entry as of June 1st, entered our district or entered the country. Across the top, you'll see how our district fared in general. Most of our kids scored in the level 4 category, 32% of them. And then you'll see a breakdown by subgroups, beginning with Hispanics, Asians. So the lower the number in level 1, the more positive the results. So you can see only 5% of Asian students scored in level 1, whereas 48% of them scored in level 4. And then you look over at white, 8% scored in level 1, whereas 45% of them scored level 4. Our English language learners continue to struggle. 61% of them scored at a level 1 on the ELA assessment from grades 3 through 9, and only 2% of them scored at a level 4. Now, don't forget, they are making progress on their access test, but this is a grade level assessment, and they're, most of them, not speaking English at their grade level. So those numbers are pretty on par with what we would have expected. Our economically disadvantaged students, a quarter of them scored at level 1. It looks like it's pretty even across the board, evenly distributed, 21, 24, and 25% of them scoring at a level 4. If you prefer colorful charts, this gives you a nice visual of where our students scored. So you can see the Asian high up in the green. Multiple races always also tends to be a little higher. And then you can see the Hispanic. The bars tell the story of the numbers, if you prefer that. Now we have math. And we definitely have been working on our math achievement. As you know, we have a new program at grades 5 through 9. As a result of some of these results, hopefully that will impact our achievement. But I'll share with you how we did across the board. Standard average scale score was a 3, except for 8th grade, which was a 2. That is similar to last year. We did have, I think, last year only 4 8th graders pass the assessment, and this year we had 8, so a little bit more, but just seems pretty stagnant. Algebra 2 continues to be the shining star. The average scale score was a 777, so we outperformed the state, and geometry always fares pretty well as well. In terms of grade levels, we can jump all the way to the right at levels 4 and 5, where you can see that the Algebra 2 students, 84% of them were proficient, whereas 6th grade, only 24%, and we already talked about 8th grade, only 4% of students were proficient, and none of them scored at a level 5. 4th grade, 36, and 3rd grade, 41. We have the color coding. Obviously, red is not, magenta is not something we want to see, but it denotes a decrease of some sort. I mean, a 1% decrease isn't a lot per se, but I just wanted to be consistent in my color coding. Any place you see a red, we went in the wrong direction. In grade 3, we increased by 4 percentage points in levels 1 and 2. Stayed the same in 4th grade, but on the positive end, increased our passing scores by 4 percentage points. In grade 5, we decreased our levels 1 and 2, but kind of washed it out because we also decreased our levels 4 and 5. So we kind of stayed the same. And same situation for grade 6. Grade 7 is where you'll see the biggest decline, 10 percentage points. 10% more students scored in levels 1 and 2, and 8% fewer scored in levels 4 and 5. And then grade 8 was a positive change. 9% fewer students scored in levels 1 and 2. A lot of them must have jumped over to the middle because 1% fewer students scored in levels 4 and 5. But they're still our highest performer, not for math. That's still a little bit better than last year. Algebra 1, geometry, and Algebra 2, these are combined. So these are students in the middle school and the high school put together. You see very tiny changes here in Algebra 1. We did decrease the number of students scoring at the first 2 levels and increased by a tiny bit at the 4 and 5 levels. In geometry, you saw a big decrease in students at levels 1 and 2 by 7 percentage points, but no increase in levels 4 and 5. And in Algebra 2, which is super hard, 6% decrease in students at levels 1 and 2. So lots of green here on your higher level math courses. In terms of our subgroups, you will see very few students scoring at the level 5 range in math. That's pretty consistent across all subgroups, with Asian being the highest, 10%. Most of our students are falling in the 3 or 4 range. For example, our white students are 38% of them are scoring a 4, and district-wide, 29% of them are scoring a 4. At the Asian category, 45% of them are scoring a 4. So that is your highest achieving subgroup in this particular content area. Students with disabilities, you see a nice chunking out here, almost in the first 3 levels, 25, 31, 26, and then a drop in students who passed the assessment to 17. And if you prefer this view, you see a bar graph, and the green obviously is your level 4, the brighter green is your level 5, and you can see right there how the Asian students are outperforming the other students. Then we have science. Science is an assessment that grades 5, 8, and 11 students take. It's a tricky one because a lot of what they have to test on might be things they learned in 2 or 3 grades prior. It's also the only assessment that we're going to continue to use through Pearson. As you know, the assessment is changing for this spring. In the meantime, they have 4 achievement levels, not 5, levels 1 through 4, and most of the district is falling in a 2, and most of the state is as well. So let's review some of this data. Our average scale score was a 157, whereas the state was a 175, but we're both in the 2nd proficiency level. Our average scale score for grade 8 was a 161, and the state was a 166. You can see the whole board is a 2. Everybody's scoring at the partially meeting expectations range, both in district and across the state. Then chunked down by grade level, our 8th graders are doing the best, 36% of them scoring at a level 1. Our 5th graders are achieving the 3 at a higher rate as our 11th graders. But in terms of level 4s, which is the exceeding, very few students are reaching that level. You have science changes. They were pretty minimal. You did have a decline in 5th grade of 1 percentage points of students in levels 1 and 2. On the inverse, 1% increase of students at levels 3 and 4, which are your passing levels. Same for 8th grade, plus 5, minus 5. And same for 11th grade. Plus 4, that's a negative, minus 4. So we went down in 8th and 11th grade and up a little in 5th grade. Very little. And then subgroup-wise, if you just take a look at level 1, it kind of matches what you already saw on a higher level, which is most of the students are falling in the level 1 and 2 category. Look at our students with disabilities. We have 70% of them scoring a level 1. 88% of our English language learners taking the science assessment are struggling. 50% of our Asian students scoring at a level 1, and then pretty even distribution of levels 2, 3, and 4. Our Hispanic students also scoring mainly in the level 1 category, and very few students getting that 4. Our graph, if you prefer that version, that visual. All right, so some key takeaways. Just want to summarize a few things as I've reviewed the data, which has also obviously been shared with all principals and schools and supervisors. At the district level, you know, we've taken a peek, and they're just starting to review, more specifically, evidence statement tables that tell us which standards our students struggled with, which is a tricky endeavor because the test is changing, so we don't want to spend too much time remediating based on these results. We don't know, but as long as we stay standard-based, we should be good. This is why we try not to teach the test, because you never know when it's going to change. Thank you for laughing at my joke. A couple things. Our ELA average is still slightly below the state average, so not too bad. Obviously, our participation rate is great. We're above 95% participation rate. We do try our best to get all of our students to take the assessment, and it is an important part of our process, and the state does expect us to get most of our students to take the assessments, except for those students who have reasons why they can't, like port of entry or significantly cognitively disabled. We do have big gaps between our Asian and white students and other subpopulations. Those economically disadvantaged, special ed and L continue to underperform. We had a big decrease in grade 9, which we are trying to figure out. Obviously a different cohort of students, so we're not comparing apples to apples, but that percentage point, I think it was 15, is pretty high. Algebra 1 is weak at the high school, but strong at the middle school, and Algebra 2 and Geometry continue to be high. And obviously, as you saw, Science is an area of challenge at all the grade levels. And even though today we are not talking about school-specific information, I did want to share a few things that we did notice in the elementary levels, because the grade 5, 6, 7, 8, those, we only have one building for those, so that data was already available to you. But a few highlights. John Adams in math, 47% of students exceeded, but they did have the lowest percentage of students not meeting. You won't find this information in your packets, just giving you a few takeaways. Parsons math, only 28% met or exceeded, and nearly half of the population did not meet. And that was actually an increase in the students who did not meet at Parsons. At LP, pretty stable mid-range results. 42% of the students exceeded or met, and that was a tiny bit better than they did last year. And at Judd, we did have a slight backslide. 45% of students met or exceeded, but that is about 5 percentage points less than they were doing last year. That was for math. And ELA, John Adams, 42% of the students did not meet when you combine the two grade levels, and Parsons had the weakest performance. Only 27% of the students met or exceeded, and more than 50%, 56, did not meet. At LP, we had no change in meet or exceed, but nearly half of the students did not meet, 48% of them. And Judd was the strongest in ELA, grade 3, with 38% meeting or exceeding, which was an 11 percentage point increase. Improvement despite 36% still not meeting. Positives. Significant ELA gains at Judd grade 4 and at LP grade 4. We don't want to attribute that to anything in particular quite yet. You know, obviously we're thinking maybe benchmark, but third grade didn't have those increases, and both of those grade levels implemented that program. So it's tricky to say that it worked for one grade and not for another. So we'll just give it a little more time before we kind of attribute any particular thing to the increase. Concerns, you know, high percentage of our students remain in the did not meet category, especially at Parsons and LP in grade 3. And in ELA, you know, obviously grade 4 at Judd and grade 4 at LP had standout improvements, with Judd leading at 58% proficiency. Have any other notes? You know, math achievement is very low in grade 8. There's no hiding that, obviously. And high school algebra 1, you know, it's a tricky situation because in grades 7 and 8, algebra 1 is your highest course, but in high school, algebra 1 is your lowest course. And so you see the trend of when you're pulling kids out of the lower courses, they perform really high in algebra 2 and geometry, but not as well when they're in the lower level course. So at the high school, algebra 1 is not as successful as it is at the middle school. And then obviously grade 8, you know, showing off with their notable improvement of 15 percentage points in ELA. Science proficiency is consistently weak across grades, all grades. And I think that's all I've got for you on that end. So we'll talk about some things we've been doing. I mean, obviously we can't list everything here. I know that last year at a education committee meeting, we did provide, Dr. Johnson provided the committee members with a slew of things we were doing to help students with the NJSLA at each grade level in each department. I think, Ms. Toth, you still probably have that if anybody else wants to see it. But for now, our high school continues to provide students with opportunities to engage in AVID, which is a really cool program for helping students learn executive functioning skills, note-taking, growth mindset, trying to get them ready for higher level courses. And then STAR is for remediation. We also obviously offer higher level math courses to grades 9 and 10 students. So everybody who took Algebra 1 in 8th grade is going to be jumping to geometry in high school. And we do have 342 students enrolled in AP courses, and you guys saw those results, which were very positive. At the middle school, we have higher level courses offered, which is really important for challenging our students and enriching. But we also offer academic intervention, both push in and pull out, and through Title I funds, we offer tutoring. We, this year and last year, focused it on NJSLA prep, and we did see that most of the students who were participating, which is tricky with attendance with our middle schoolers, but most students who participated increased their scale score. So it is an effective way, but you're only reaching a small number of students. And we last year implemented a math coach to support instruction in grades 5 through 8. And elementary school, you know, we've been doing a lot of work around phonemic awareness, the science of reading. We also offer morning math and Achieve with CEIS funds, so tutoring. We go back and forth between addressing primary grade needs before the gap widens, or addressing 3rd and 4th grade needs before they take the NJSLA. So, I mean, there are positives, challenges to either choice you make. Last year, we did offer NJSLA tutoring. So this year, since we don't know what the test is going to be like, we might offer it to our 1st and 2nd graders. We continue to train our teachers in early literacy skills and dyslexia identification at grades K to 4, and dysgraphia strategies, which is something that's really important for all teachers to be able to identify. And then all of our preschool teachers are trained in SIOP. Challenges, I think you saw them in the data. Our subgroups are underperforming, special ed and MLLs specifically. We see a lack of foundational reading skills in our multilingual students, which is difficult to remediate because as they get older, they have teachers who maybe don't have the skills to teach phonics. So they are in need of, like, let's say 1st grade instruction, but they're in 9th grade. At least 1st grade instruction in the English language. And then we continue to have transient enrollment at all grade levels. Next steps. I mean, we're always working. A few things to highlight. Our content area supervisors, who are your content level experts, continue to work with administrators, with the interventionists. We have an amazing group of academic support teachers at each school who provide students with Tier 2 and Tier 3 intervention services. We're working on learning how to analyze the data and make decisions based off that analyzation to improve or change our instruction, determine gaps, maybe change curriculum where needed. We have a very diverse group of students with varying needs. So teachers really need to work on small group instruction and differentiation, and we all know that's very hard, but very important. We're gonna continue to focus on New Jersey tiered systems of support, or MTSS, as the rest of the world calls it, and we continue to hold our data team meetings after each district's benchmark assessment to kind of dig in and figure out at the Tier 1 level, the core level, what are some things that maybe all kids could benefit from a boost in. And then obviously the rest of the time is who are the Tier 2 and Tier 3 kids that we're pulling for this cycle based on these assessment results after we administer MAP. Continue to support our 3rd and 4th grade teachers in benchmark implementation, and even though our K-1-2 are not tested grades, they're implementing benchmark this year, which we hope to see the fruits of that labor as the kids move up in the levels. They're doing a lot more writing, a lot more nonfiction reading, which you know is important for the state assessments. And lastly, this year, we're going to focus on strengthening our professional learning communities. This is the place where people can analyze data, share instructional strategies that work, and review student work to really understand where our students need support. So we'll be doing a lot of training on that this year. And if you have questions, we can ask them now, but also you can always email me. We have a really nice assessment page on mbtschools.org. Mrs. Keita started it, and I've maintained it. Everything you need to know about assessments is on there, both local and state. And as we get more information about the new NJSLA, I'll be sure to update that page. Any questions from the board?
Board members, it's time. Please,
Got some
we got Mercy
comments.
here. She's loving to answer questions. She told me
Sweat.
today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the data. I've got a few comments, questions, and a ton of thoughts that I think I will reserve until the appropriate time. But some things that jump out at me. Well, the first question I wanted to ask was for you to speak to the initiatives that are already put in place to address these areas for needed improvement. I think you've already done that with the presentation, talking about Avid, talking about some of those programs. So thanks for getting ahead of that. A few things stood out to me. For 8th grade ELA, we had 58% of our students proficient, which is great. That is one of few categories where we actually saw more than 50% that were in the proficient area versus less than 50%, which has been across the board for ELA and math. For some reason, there is the absolute inverse of that for math. That for math, for 8th grade students, only 4% are proficient. I really cannot even understand how there can be such a wide gap. And this, I totally understand the nature of the work that we do here, us getting the information, you being the representative for it, so I don't expect you to be able to fully answer this question on the spot, but this is something for you to take back to the team. How can that gap be so broad? How can it be so wide?
If I may, the ELA 8th grade test, for as long as I can remember, it has always yielded better results, even when I was a 7th grade teacher. I obviously can't speak to the rigor of that assessment, but because of exactly what you're stating, I have to imagine that it's not that our 8th graders all become brilliant suddenly when they haven't been able to successfully get through 3rd grade test, 4th grade test, 5th grade test. I think there is something about that test that makes it so that more students can pass it. Let me grab my data so I can share what the state average is for 8th grade.
Please.
So we can compare it to.
Okay.
So at the state level, we had 4% of students meeting or exceeding, and the state had 20. Still a big difference, but being that nobody's getting above 50% of their students passing this assessment, state average is 20. Again, still wide between 4 compared to 20
Okay.
with that 8th grade assessment.
Okay. And so, of course, as you all do your research with your data analysts to actually dig in, I think that's just something that we have to tap into to better identify exactly what's going on there. And then to piggyback off of that, we then went to Algebra 2, and we've seen this year over year for Algebra 2. Like, what is the magic sauce that Algebra 2 is constantly doing well, but from 3 through 8 or 3 through 9, they're not mastering, and they're not proficient. So how then do you excel in Algebra 2, which is a more complicated course?
I guess-
Another big theory
yeah.
question, but
The
you
kids
know.
moving into Algebra 2 are probably your 8th graders in the middle school who were doing well on the Algebra 1 test. So you go Algebra 1 geometry and then Algebra 2. I think that there is something to be said and a lot of research about pushing kids into higher level courses because the rigor is amped up and sometimes that alone affects achievement. So that definitely impacts, but they're doing well in Algebra 2, it's the same cohort of students that ends up taking high-level courses in 8th grade.
Mercy, maybe you could explain how the Algebra 1 8th grade students are not counted for the 8th grade scores.
Yeah, and we've talked
Major
about that a
issue.
lot. It's separated, so the Math 8, 4% of students passing does not include 8th graders taking Algebra 1 or Geometry. They're taking the Math 8 assessment, which means that they were not yet ready for algebra skills. And that was, I'll tell you, it was like 231 students take the grade 8 math assessment. The remaining of them, which is another 240 probably, take Algebra 1 or Geometry. It's still, I mean, I agree with you, it's still something to look at, and I think it's part of the reason why the district is moving to amplify for math. Definitely, it's pretty glaring. I don't want to minimize it.
Another probably big picture comment and or question is, have we gotten away from critical thinking? And are we possibly too reliant on technology that these are the numbers that are now bearing out for 2025?
Yeah, that's a question I definitely cannot answer because I feel like I would be taking a big wild guess here.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope we're not taking any steps away from critical thinking. We've definitely, after COVID, we're emphasizing a decrease in Chromebook use. In fact, at the elementary levels, instead of going one-to-one, we are now giving teachers carts. We don't want kids on the Chromebook. There's no reason to do COVID-like lessons if you're standing in front of students. Obviously, Google Classroom helps our students get organized and assign tasks, and teachers can grade them easily, and that's all great for the staff member. But for the children, we do want to see more engaging, active instruction going on. So I obviously do not want to say we're gotten away from critical thinking, and we'll always keep an eye on that technology piece.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, and this is not limited to North Brunswick. Anyone that knows me personally knows that my experience in education exceeds North Brunswick, so I feel like I'm familiar with a lot of different districts, so I'm just recognizing the trend. And I'm talking statewide as to that. But in that same vein, I feel like there has been a common theme that we have kind of gotten away from the basics, right? Talking about phonics and phonemic awareness, that we need to do that. Students not learning how to write cursive anymore. Students not learning how to do spelling or doing spelling tests anymore. Students not having to do book reports anymore, right? All of these things have led to a result that is a consequence that I don't think that any of us want. And so I think that for North Brunswick, we want to be an exemplar. We want to set the stage. We want to be a model. And so to the extent that we can get back to basics, I think that I would strongly encourage that we prioritize that and do as best we can within the confines of our curriculum, within the confines of NJSLS. My last question is about tutoring. You listed that as an initiative for what we're doing as far as interventions. Are we getting good turnout? Is there a good engagement for tutoring? Is it, I mean, do we need, I don't know, is it marketing? Like what is it, you know,
It's a great turnout at grades 1 through 4. You know, those teachers work really hard to incentivize students, get them in the morning. I visit all of the programs, great attendance, very hands-on activities. I take pictures all the time. I just don't like to share them out because they're students who are struggling, so I don't want to put their faces up. But at the grades 5 through 8 level, we struggle greatly, students staying after school. We only have 2 days that they can stay due to busing, and then they have clubs, they have sports. Getting them to stay has been a challenge, to say the least. For example, I had one grade level where only 2 students were showing up consistently for tutoring. So this is why the research shows it's most important to provide intervention during the school day, which is also complicated because then you're pulling them out from classes. We try not to pull out from the class that you're in need of, but most kids who are getting tutoring probably need it in both. So then you're trying to pull from science, social studies, music, and they do not like that. We just do our best to find little spots throughout the day to do targeted intervention, 20, 30 minutes, 2 or 3 times a week. During the day is the best model, but we do offer the after-school opportunities as an additional layer of support. But no, attendance is not great at grades 5 to 8.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Chang, I do have a question for you.
Sure.
Regarding the middle school and Linwood, I know several years ago, we had homerooms where they were enrichment homerooms or support homerooms. Do we still do that at those levels? And if not, is that something that we as a board should be, in central office, should be considering implementing? They were incredible programs for those students that were in them, and some of them, they just needed a little bit of an extra push. Some of them, it was actually enrichment because they already were doing well, but they were great at the 5 through 8 levels, and they yielded really good results.
Yeah. That was our R&R program?
Yes.
Yes. And I do agree that it was a great model for providing intervention, high or low enrichment where needed. Unfortunately, with the revision of the schedules, we do not have R&R anymore. We were also funding that through Title I funds, so every single teacher that had an R&R homeroom was getting paid for a certain number of weeks to run those groups, because R&R technically was teachers duty-free, kind of no teaching period. I would love to see something like that in place, but I think that the scheduling is pretty tricky given the number of hours in the day and what they've moved towards in terms of number of life skills that are offered. We just continue to try to pull them from little pockets throughout the day and provide the service as needed, but when we pull them, they're missing something else. But thank you for bringing that up. I would be happy to chat with Dr. Zakowski about that and the principals.
Again, they really did yield a lot of great results, both at the enrichment level as well as propelling students forward. And sometimes it was, just a point or 2 or 3, and it moved that student from level 2 to 3 or level 3 to level 4. Again, they were great programs. I heard from a lot of parents whose students were part of those programs years ago, and they were very happy that the district did offer them, because again, they were during the day, they were in homeroom anyway. So,
Ms. Chang, I have a question actually, following up to Alicia's question with the whole tutoring thing. How are we gauging if that tutoring is working or not? Because I understand we have the resources, we're putting them in place, but are they actually working? What are you guys doing to measure that?
Yeah, right now we gauge them by skill increase in NJSLA points. So we have student attendance, all their demographics, their MAP score, and then their prior year NJSLA score and their current year NJSLA score. As I mentioned previously, we did see that most of the students who attended tutoring did increase in their scale points. The issue is how many of the students are we capturing.
Right, but I mean, are you guys actually waiting that whole time period to gauge them? There's nothing that we could do as a weekly or monthly gauging?
That tutoring is very limited. So we offer it starting in January for a few weeks before the test. So it's not tutoring that goes all year long. One, we don't always have staff available to teach those programs, and like I said, the students have a lot of scheduling conflicts. So the best way to determine it is the MAP score and the NJSLA score.
Okay. Is there any way to get the parents involved? Because again, like, I feel that parents might not be aware that we're offering this tutoring. Because myself as a child, or even my daughter, sometimes she doesn't tell me everything that happens at school, or I might just overlook it. She might be talking, and I'm sure we're so busy in our, our own little world that we overlook what our kids are saying to us. So is there anything that we could do where we could, enforce, or we can make people more aware that we do offer these things, and maybe during that 2-week, 3-week period during the tutoring, we send them a packet, like a 1-page packet with them with a couple of problems or whatever we're doing for the tutoring for them, and they do it with the parent.
Yeah, so this is a very targeted intervention. The students who qualify, because it's Title I funded, you do have to have criteria, are invited, like fancy letters, phone calls, harassment. We do everything we can to get them here. Linwood did last year have a homework club, which was more for just getting your homework and getting a review of tasks or skills that you weren't sure of. But the tutoring is very targeted. It's not open to everyone, and it can't be because of Title I criteria. And we do select students who are either like approaching and could jump to that next level, and also base it on their local assessment data.
Okay, so just to follow up, I mean, you're saying we're only targeting those kids that are approaching. Why not the kids that are at the bottom to help them even get to that level of approaching?
We've tried all of the approaches.
Oh, wow.
You know, are you trying to close a lot of gaps? Or if you have a 8th grader reading at a 2nd grade level, and it's so hard to say what's more important, right? You don't want to get into that, but like what makes more sense right now? Are we going to be able to, in 6 weeks, you know, get a student who's reading 4 grade levels below to pass an assessment? Probably not. So for that particular program, we choose the approaching. For other interventions, we're hitting everybody, especially Tier 3 students who are in need of intervention multiple times a week. So it's just different avenues for providing the support.
Thank you.
Because we don't want to leave anybody behind, but often that middle kid gets left behind. Right? All eyes on the strugglers, all eyes on the high achievers.
Middle kids.
Yes, Mr. Ali.
Yes.
You're such a good little student.
You know, I'm graduating soon, so. So I know causation does not equal correlation all the time. Well, correlation doesn't equal causation, but when we're looking at the English language arts, right? So 2 questions. Are we double dipping? So like the economically disadvantaged students with disabilities, can they also be Hispanic, Asian, Black? Like we're doing that,
Yes.
right? Okay, great.
Yeah, they're double dipping.
So
Yes.
do a lot of the like the math assessments, are they still word based? Are they like the Johnny has 3 apples if you take away 2? Like
Yeah, a lot of the math assessments do require high reading levels,
yes, okay.
comprehension,
So
you
thank
know,
you. So
context,
you answered half the question.
background knowledge.
So then half of the I'm just trying to come to like a conclusion or better understanding, right? So I'm sure then a lot of what we're seeing, the downfall in math and science, is related to the language gap, right?
Yes.
Because if we have this high number of folks who are performing under lower levels in ELA, it's only going to trickle over to the math and science. So there's like a part of that where we're saying, okay, they may not be performing as poorly as we think. It's just like sometimes they can't even understand or grasp.
It can compute potentially, but not make sense of word problems potentially.
Okay.
In our local assessments, we're lucky enough to be able to administer them in Spanish. It's the only language that's translated right now. And that tells us if the students understand math, not English language. But we can't do that with NJSLA except for a few students whose tests are able to be transcribed into Spanish. And that leaves out all the Russian students, you know, students speaking a variety of other languages.
Urdu, all that. Okay, yeah. So thank you. I just was because I know even back in the day, like someone could be strong at math, but if they can't understand the math problem or the words, the grammar part of it, it's going to really impact their score. So I'm just asking that for my own personal knowledge without. Cause I don't want to jump to conclusions. The data doesn't always tell the truth. But I'm sure that's still impacting us greatly.
Right.
Because if we have a long word problem and there's some high level language in there, it's going to be pretty tough.
Yeah.
So thank you.
You are right. Thank you for acknowledging that. Absolutely correct.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
It's a 2-parter. Why do you think what's the reasoning that they're changing and going away from NJSLA? That's part 1. Part 2 is when do you think you'll receive the information on the new test?
Ms. Toth, thank you for asking that question. It's keeping me up at night. I have no idea why the change. We were not involved in that decision. I'm assuming, to simplify it, the contract with Pearson, expired, and they no longer wanted to work with that vendor. I did attend a training yesterday with the new vendor, Cambrium.
How'd that work out?
It wasn't great, I'm not gonna lie. I think they're kind of building the plane as they fly it. I'm just trying to be patient and figure out how we're gonna get the field testing done in October.
That's a chat.
Yeah, I did ask if they would be willing to give an extension. No one was really able to answer that question. I was the most vocal person there, I just want to say. And my colleagues did appreciate that because we have so many questions
Right.
about how we're even getting our students into this system. It's no longer Pearson, it's no longer PAN.
Was this training statewide?
There were multiple trainings, many virtual. I did not do the 3 hours on a screen. So I attended yesterday in person. There were 6 other in-person trainings. They tried to figure out, South, Central,
Sure.
and North.
Okay.
And I don't know why they changed it. I also don't know what that looks like in terms of comparing students. If it's adaptive, sounds pretty much like a MAP assessment that we already do. How will we compare students? Maybe percentiles, I'm not sure. They did not even touch the content yesterday. They really just went over the logistics of the new system, which is called TIDE, which our teachers know nothing about yet, and we can't train them until we know more. We'll develop a presentation. All of the SECs and I are meeting next week in different grade level chunks, and we'll do our best to present, to create, develop a training based on the information that we have right now. No idea is the, I know I'm so helpful. I have no idea.
That's frustrating.
It's super frustrating.
If I'm being honest.
Yeah, it is frustrating, and that's why I said we're going to be reviewing the evidence statement tables that the state puts out with all of the assessment results. Those tell us which standards our students had challenges with. It also compares that to, does it match what the state's overall results? Did the state also have problems with that standard? But for us to now spend a lot of time kind of hitting those without knowing what the next assessment's going to look like, it's almost like just keep teaching your standards, keep teaching your curriculum, keep using good instructional strategies, because you just don't want to put all your eggs in one basket without knowing for sure what is going to be assessed.
Right. Well, one thing I'm confident in is that we have the staff to be able to handle this change. So I think that we'll be just fine, but I understand and I feel the frustration behind it.
Yeah, thank you.
I want to thank Ms. Chang going on a day off yesterday. She went and very happy with
Hey, they gave me water.
time she won't get back, and she's not getting that holiday back, but thank you for going.
I was just so excited to go. Like, all the SECs attended the virtual, and I just kept getting texts like, can you believe what they're saying? They're not, like, you should have seen the messages. And I was like, I just need to see this in person.
Right.
And they were so right. They were so right. I mean, they're all so amazing at what they do, and I had no doubts that they were right, but I just had to see it for myself.
Well, thank you.
Please don't share my analysis with the board.
I will not.
No, okay.
Between me and you.
Yes. So going back, and I want to thank Zaire for your analysis of multiple students representing. You know, when George Bush did the No Child Left Behind, you know, which was a complete disgrace and a disaster for measuring school districts, and you know, actually it left students behind. It did highlight cohorts, but even then that started the one child representing 4 cohorts.
Yes.
And when you look at true data and you pull students that are doing well, and you could analyze who's doing well and who are the cohorts of students, not the multiple cohorts, because if you add up all the numbers, 2,500, 2,600 students are tested, but if you add up all the numbers, you see like it's 4,000 slots. So that's like, and that's one of the reasons we don't want to make excuses, but we are driving deeper down into data. So I wanted to ask a question, maybe explain to the board, when your data teams have been created, and it's required, but we've been doing data work, avoiding the drip factor, right? The data rich, we look for information. We don't want to be information poor. How are you, maybe share with the board, we always talk about students and being the data points, but are we using it to drive curriculum where we're looking at item analysis, and where are the areas, the pain points of the curricular items? You know, we all know 3rd grade, when they get into fractions, our students struggle, statewide, nationally. So maybe you could explain the data teams more than just, okay, last year was 4 students and this year was 6. They're not even the same cohort.
They're
There's no
not,
correlation, as Zaire was saying. So maybe the correlation or the examination of our curricular areas where are we weak? Where are we not? Where are
Great.
students struggling?
It's a great question. So our data team's goal is to look at the data and make a decision about a particular area, because you can't address it all at once, that might need to be beefed up. Once you figure that out, then we decide, was there a hole in the curriculum? And then it's up to the supervisors and their coaches to fill that hole. Sometimes it's, we just didn't realize we didn't have enough lessons on that, or we taught it at the wrong time of year. Other times, it's a foundational skill that's missing or prerequisite skill that's missing. So very important work for the data team to pick out what that thing is, and I think we do have some data team members here, right, Lindsay? Pick out what that is, which is hard, right? You gotta prioritize. If you have a grade level with 4 or 5, needs, you have to really decide which one you're gonna address in a tier 1 plan, and then relay that information to the right people so that either the PD that is necessary or the curricular changes that are necessary are made. obviously within reason, because you can't change the curriculum every year based on this particular grade level this year struggled with a concept, right? You might want to change your instructional strategies in that case, but sometimes you do find that there's a hole in the actual pacing of the curriculum.
One thing
Did I answer your question, Dr.
Yeah,
Z?
no, thank you, and I want you to illuminate that point. We've talked about it,
Yeah.
but I wanted to illuminate for the millions of viewers and also our board who are asking very insightful questions.
Yes, they
It makes
always
sense.
do.
Yeah, one thing I was going to add, just as a comment, less a question, but I would really like to see just the subgroup. I know you mentioned the transient students, but just seeing that added as a subgroup just to see what the performance would look like as well.
So transient would like been in our school less than 1 year, or school district,
I mean,
2 years?
you can define it.
Well, Mr.
But
Quattro,
I mean, I think my point is more around like the lack of consistency.
Yes.
Right? You know that the lack of consistency is going to create issues. So maybe, maybe look at the data and see like students less than 3 years in district have, whatever you may see from the data.
Perfect, yeah, we can do that.
we actually, that was our talking point.
Yeah, we talked about
as
that.
a group.
Yeah.
We want to look at that because we not only want to look at how that's impacting, but where we could target those folks. How are our students who entered from third grade to high school, how are they doing, how are they progressing? Those who are transient or multiple stops, in and out sometimes, right? So that they call that mobility rate, which really is high in North Brunswick, which hurts students, we know, only because of that consistency. And it doesn't matter if they're going to West Windsor, North Brunswick, South Brunswick, all 3 great districts. Just the movement in different environments hurt students. And lastly, one of the things we're working with our strategic execution as we're going to be moving forward is what does a portrait of a graduate for North Brunswick look like after third grade? What are the prerequisite skills? Because I heard Ms. James talk about, certain back to basics. So where are those, prerequisite skills and where are they happening? Where should they happen? And when you're at an 8th grade, what should a portrait of an 8th grader look like going into high school? What should a portrait of our graduate look like? But kind of that, but looking at the issues and those gaps when people coming and going really will hurt. So, but it will help us if we have those portraits, those prerequisite skills as kids are coming in and out, because that alignment, even if they're going to great schools and coming back, just that change. Can you imagine that disconnect?
Yeah, definitely.
Sequencing, pacing, different series or whatever it may be.
We can do that analysis and have it maybe at the next education committee. Dr. Ellis did do that exact work, but not with this year's data,
Right.
with
So we
22,
answered-
23, and 23, 24. There were instances where what we're noting is the case, and then there were instances where we had students who were with us from 3rd to 8th and still were not achieving, so you're probably going to see a little bit of both.
Yeah, you want to take a look at that.
So Doc just said something that just made my brain go. I know you.
Should I apologize for that or no?
No. You mentioned it earlier that local levels versus the assessments are a little different, and I'm sure students are assessed out the building right now, but how would you say the differential learning is really impacting at the local level? And do those high achievers and do those grades correlate to the scores? Because I know not a lot of parents, I don't have kids yet, but I know enough parents, and they talk about, they're doing good in school, but then they get the test back, they're like, boom, like they tanked it, right?
Well,
so how is that comparison?
On a local objective measure, we're matching up to what the NJSLA is showing us. I can't say that's the case for grades, which are definitely more subjective and always will be, human. But our MAP scores are very similar to our NJSLA scores, so we're not exactly like, whoa, they are so outperforming in MAP, and then we're like so surprised. It's pretty consistent. And I mean, these developers, NWEA does a lot of correlation studies. I mean, they can predict for us to the student who's going to pass or not pass the assessment based on how much growth they make between each MAP assessment.
Now, the MAP assessments are adaptive.
Yep.
So part of the adaptiveness of the new assessments coming our way, I'm hoping our work with MAP
Hopefully.
testing and adaptive testing will correlate to comfort level.
That would
for
be
students.
great.
Yeah.
That would be really great.
Yeah, because I was just going to say, how are we going to measure success next year?
I have no idea.
it's such a question mark
Maybe,
with this adaptive testing
you know,
now.
for MAP, our success is anybody who scores above 60th percentile, not 60%. There's a difference. So you don't have to get every answer right on MAP or on any adaptive assessment. So passing is anybody above the 61st percentile. Maybe that's going to be the same measure that NJSLA-A, which is what it's called now, will use. Perhaps, I am not sure. Also, if it's truly adaptive, the students will not be getting the same questions, and that'll be really interesting. But I guess if whatever scale score, or for MAP it's called a RIT score, correlates to a percentile, then maybe you're just comparing based on percentiles, not necessarily based on what content they saw on their screen.
Also, one of the more shameful things that I'm hearing about this new test is that tech is a big issue. Like, they don't know if, from district to district, if the technology can actually handle these adaptive tests from a bandwidth perspective.
From a bandwidth perspective, we're going to be conducting some infrastructure trials. It will help us, the technology department, I'm working closely with them, it will help us determine what's our max number of students we can test at once before the computers start glitching, right? We have never had a problem before, which is why sometimes when we're testing, you'll see that other classes aren't allowed to like show videos or watch movies because it messes with the bandwidth, right? We have to shut down all of those programs while we're testing so that the kids can test. So we are conducting infrastructure trials. They obviously have recommendations on using Windows, Mac OS, iPad OS, but we do have to test it at different times of day. So like, what's the peak number of students that might be testing at 9 a.m.? And let's say it's 500, let's bump it up to 600, test it there, let's bump it up to 700 and test it there. It's gonna make a difference in who we can test when, right?
Another unfunded mandate, Dr. Zig.
I know. Ms. Herrick knows the answer there, right? How many can we test?
How many can we test, Jeff? Well, I mean, we have a lot of questions about the field test and why it needs to be field tested with every single student in New Jersey, but we don't really have a say in that matter. We will be field testing from grades 4. Honestly, it looks like through 11. Anybody who took Algebra 1, Algebra 2, or Geometry last year needs to field test. So that's like most of our district. Only K3 will not be testing. Yeah. And the field test will not be adaptive. Field test is just checking the quality of their questions. Yeah, it will not be adaptive.
Why bother?
It's reliability and validity of their
Yeah, but
questions.
But that's how you do the adaptability, right? Like when you do the,
We do the real one.
no, when they level the questions. Right?
Oh,
So
Right.
based
that's
on
how they're going to level them?
Correct.
Got it. Did you think they should have done that before? Well, if you don't have any more questions, I'll make sure to remember to work with Dr. Ellis. I'm pulling her in, she doesn't know it yet, on that transient mobility rates.
But we just addressed it. I think that's great, because we said we were going
Yeah.
to present it. That's why when you mentioned it, Mr. Carter, we had asked Dr. Ellis that she already had some of that data to kind of update it as we move forward.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
Students, I
you.
hope you learned a lot. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much for being here tonight, Ms. Chang. You're so welcome. All right, we'll move to the remainder of our meeting. We have item 6, our meeting minutes. Mr. Singh, would you please take item number 6?
Sure, I'd like to make a motion to approve the following board minutes. Regular public meeting minutes, August 27, 2025. Executive meeting minutes, August 27, 2025. Committee of the whole minutes, August 13, 2025. Executive minutes, August 13, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? All the minutes are approved.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any communications this evening?
None, Madam President?
All right, and we can, I'm assuming, jump to your administrative report.
Yes, thank you so much, and
Excellent.
good evening to all our guests here today, live, and of course our millions of viewers that I'm excited to be reporting out. I did have one more question as Ms. Chang sat down, I forgot to ask. Was it a special test for the board and superintendent about who stapled?
That was me, I
am the worst. Are you left-handed, or I just, okay, moving on. I thought you were testing us for our dexterity, and you succeeded.
Give you something to do while you're sitting
Yes. Yeah. So once again, as I reported out, and we had a conference meeting, and we did review the agenda, and I was so grateful as I was touring the many schools back to school nights, and at that last Wednesday, the next day was the high school back to school night, and I just want to say again another remarkable job, but not only by our staff, our principals, our administration, the teachers, our custodial staff, the buildings, everything looked presented, our security, parking. It was really, I want to thank the community because it was such an orderly. When you see people converge, it's a very exciting time, and so many people visiting. It was an orderly, well-run back-to-school night, and I was happy to see that. We have one more, which is tomorrow. So we have Linwood here, home of the Board of Ed offices. So we'll be completed with our back-to-school night, which I'll get into our next group of parent meetings, which will be parent-teacher conferences, which is a little bit different than our back-to-school night. We'll talk about that in a minute. But thank you again to all of our buildings, leaders, staff, and so on. I do want to talk about the board received a BOE bulletin, our board president and board. One of our commitment as a board in our board retreat, we talked about how do we connect some of the great things that we as a staff report to the board on a weekly basis. So kind of a monthly highlight that we have sent out to the mayor and council, and the parents will be getting a copy of. But from there, it was very exciting news, and we thank our building leaders for sending us information, because I want to congratulate our MBTHS senior, Piranha Santosh, who participated in Rutgers, the Waxman Institute Summer Experience, and I see one of our founders of that Waxman Institute here and helping us with students. That really it's about authentic research projects, in this case molecular biology and bioinformatics. So congratulations to our high school senior Priyana for her work, and we highlighted her in that information at BOE Bulletin. And in our bulletin, we're very happy because we got a great picture of our board members, and welcome to our newest 2 members representing SGO and the class of 2026. Yep. Wow, 2026. So. Well, welcome, and you see you made the BOE Bulletin. You're going to be famous, not only millions of viewers every month. Don't be nervous, but you're in our BOE, copy. So congratulations. And something if you see that we talked about in our update in our weekly newsletter, was our 50 MBTH students who volunteered in the past weekend. I know I've been talking to Mr. Wen about creating a volunteer portal, but we have 50 students that went to Renaissance Park. We all know we're Renaissance Park in our Renaissance development. And with Detective Ailey, with the MB Police and North Brunswick Police Department and the Domestic Violence Response Team all getting together, coming out and doing a cleanup. It was a wonderful opportunity, a community shared experience. So I wanted to highlight that and thank the students, the PD, the Violence Response Team of going out and doing such collaborative work. Also, I want to highlight another collaborative day that I missed being around North Brunswick the last couple of years, but looking forward to it. Saturday, October 4th, 3 o'clock to 10 o'clock is Heritage Day. We want to make sure we highlight that, and we know how it brings just a wonderful day. We had a little bit of a national night out. We had a little I call it a mini Heritage Day, where we just brought the community out for a little day in August. Heritage Day just even expands that, and we look forward to that. Homecoming, our high school homecoming. I'm not gonna take your report. You know what? You gonna mention it?
We don't talk about it.
No, you don't talk about it? Oh, I was nervous.
Oh, I'm wrong, we do.
Thank you. Thank you for correcting that. So, see, I'm going to skip that, okay? But I'm going to go to the parent-teacher conferences. We wish everyone well. That is really, we know that's very well attended, and we look forward to the October 15th, 17th. And also, in our report that we sent out to the community, but we gave to the mayor and council, we talk about is MBTHS was recognized in a U.S. News and World Report again, and we were included among the best high schools in our ranking. More than 24,000 public high schools in all of 50 states, nearly 18,000 were ranked on 6 factors based on their performance on state assessments and how well they prepare students for college, and North Brunswick received a national ranking. So we're very happy about that. And so I would like to end there, Madam President, and thank Ms. Chang again for doing a great job with the data, and I know it's not easy, but taking us through that data walk, and we look forward to even drilling down and to answering questions, even at the committee level, but then also public presentations as we address those challenges that you highlighted for us tonight. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Dr. Zakowski. At this time, we'll move to our student reports. So glad to see you both here. Like I said, a part of our team. Ms. Montero, welcome back, year 2. Love seeing you up here again as SGO president. And then Ms. Brockman, welcome, our SGO representative. It's great to see a semi-familiar face as we've had your dad up here for a long time. So definitely following in your family's footsteps. So that always makes us very proud as well.
Thank you, Ms. Toth. I was going to say I'm happy to be back here again for another year. And then you asked us to introduce ourselves. So
Please.
A little bit about me. If you couldn't tell from last year's reports, I do like to be very involved in the school. As Ms. Toth said, I'm SGO president, DECA president, Key Club president. I try to do everything, which if we're talking about basically any event, I'm probably there. And I usually drag Grayson along with me. So we'll give you the inside scoop. To start this month's report, on Thursday, September 4th, SGO sponsored our annual Club Fest. Students were introduced to all of the clubs that MBTHS has to offer with a video and homeroom, and then after school we held the actual Club Fest. Oh, it's on the board right now. Where students could walk around and meet representatives from every club, and we always get a great turnout at this event. It's great to see everyone's excitement for the year and see everyone excited to get involved in the school. It's just always great. And then the SGO General Assembly held their first meeting where we chose this year's charity. So last year we raised, I think, a little over $5,000 for Raiders Home Plate. And this year we are going to work to raise $5,000 for Children's Specialized Hospital. So hopefully we can cross that again. And then finally, the class of 2026 sponsored a senior sunrise activity to kick the year off. They provided breakfast, which was donuts, coffee, bagels. They gave us swag bags, which was a little backpack drawstring thing with lanyards and keychains and stuff. And then they had games, and we all signed this banner. I don't really know where it's going, but I'm sure it's going somewhere. And yeah, it was just a great event. It was nice to just spend time with everybody before the year starts.
To introduce myself, I'm Grayson Brockman. I'm so glad to be here tonight. Something about me, I'm not president of all those clubs, but I'm involved in the clubs. And Mia forgot to say we're both cheer captains. So to say, SGO is preparing for our first pep week for homecoming. This homecoming theme is around the world, and the homecoming game is October 10th. You can come see us cheer. And then the dance is the 11th. Also, our clubs are beginning to meet, so our Latin American club is making announcements to honor Hispanic Heritage Month.
And to add on to that, in the morning before first period, we play music just to start the day off on a nice happy note. And so from September 15th to October 15th, we will be playing different songs to honor Hispanic Heritage Month. So just tie that in a little bit. And that's all. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We're excited to hear about all of your updates monthly. All right, our committees. We had committee meetings earlier this month, so we'll start with, we'll go in order. Human Resources, Dr. Patel.
That's me. Thank you, Madam President. The Human Resources Committee, Relations Committee met on Tuesday, September 9th to discuss various personnel topics. For those on tonight's agenda who are either retiring or resigning, the board thanks them for their service and wishes them well. There are several new staff hires for the 2025-2026 school year on tonight's agenda. We welcome all those new members to our district, and we look forward to having you work with us here in North Brunswick. We also discussed several reassignments which are on tonight's agenda, and we are looking forward to our staff taking on these new roles. As of our committee meeting, any remaining vacancies for the 2025-2026 school year continue to be in the interview stages and will be posted until they're filled. All of our current openings can be found on our district website, social media pages, and posted in each of our buildings. For any teaching positions, alternate route and traditional route candidates are both encouraged to apply. We discuss any current and upcoming leaves of absences, and those positions will be filled via daily subs, long-term subs, or 6 teaching periods. Also on tonight's agenda are several staff approved for degree level changes, and we congratulate them on this accomplishment. Lastly, the committee had a first reading of the following policy: administrative employment contracts and notification of promotion, new job, and transfer opportunities. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Mr. Ali, Education.
Yes, and thank you, Ms. Toth, for taking notes while I was away. Well, not away. I just couldn't make it at night because of
No
work. But thank you.
worries.
I wish
Happy
I
to
was away. So the Education Committee met on Wednesday, September 10th at 6 p.m. So we're going to start with assessments and grants. So we're continuing to prioritize grants that support student learning and well-being through our Title IV grant funding. So the district will be advancing our social emotional learning, student well-being, and arts education opportunities through that grant, and through the Title I funding, we'll support the math subject area leader position and development of the annual school plans, as Ms. Chang touched on a little bit earlier, to help our students. So we also discussed some new competitive grant opportunities, including RISE and Impact, which is essentially, we're going to be pursuing those. Updates were also provided on assessments. So we saw some of the reports tonight, and Ms. Chang touched upon it, that we're going to be transitioning from NJSLA through Pearson to a new adaptive system that's going to be coming out this year. And we also, as you saw, we had a follow-up to the access testing for ELLs, English Language Learners. So moving on to curriculum instruction technology, the high school students were able to participate in the 9/11 Museum and Memorial. There was a digital learning experience, which included a live chat with the staff at the museum. And later in the year, we're also exploring the possibility of a guided tour connected to one of our elective courses. And some of you don't know at home, our school is a part of we have a designation of revolutionary schools. And that's a part of the DOE program in the state. And that provides professional development, and is connected to our social studies department. So on September 17th at New Jersey PAC, our staff were able to go for a pretty fun day of PD related to that, as well as some curriculum updates. So this coming year, we have new benchmarks for ELA in grades K to 2 and grade 3 to 4, as well as Algebra 1. They will adopt some of the new Amplified Math program, and we just rolled out, or we'll be rolling out, Writing Revolution through grades 5 through 8, and that goal is to really help and strengthen across subjects. So as you mentioned earlier, you can't really do much if you can't read well, and that's the goal, to strengthen that foundation. And on the technology side, cybersecurity is really important, so that's really a big priority here. We don't want to get compromised, because that could cost districts a lot of money. It happened to my university at CUNY a few years ago. It was bad. So staff will be participating in mandatory training for that, and some of the Chromebooks have been rolled out. We have a lot of those, and Dr. Z mentioned earlier, we're trying to move away from just being strictly on Chromebooks, so we have the carts. So students will be getting those as needed, and we will be revisiting some of our AI plans with our AI task force, and we have a new AP cybersecurity course that's going to be offered at the high school, and that's going to be a part of our STEM and college prep opportunities. And there is no updates for people and personnel services, but we had our first reading of our new policy. It's mandated by the state, and it's going to replace policy 2422, and that's on comprehensive health and physical education. And we had no second readings for anything. So thank you, Madam President.
Great, thank you so much. Mr. Carter, Business Operations.
Thank you, Madam President. The Business Operations Committee met on Wednesday, September 10th. On the agenda this evening, you'll find the following items. In Policy Section 1A, approvals for the first reading of bylaws 0143, 0173, 0174, 0177, P&R 1570, P 1620, and P 6220, as well as finance items 3F, 3G, 3I, and 3J. And that's it from the Business Operations Committee.
Thank you. Ms. Keefe, any negotiations updates?
None at this time, Madam President.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Ligori, our liaison to the Township Council, as well as New Jersey School Boards and Middlesex County School Boards.
Yeah, Madam President, I can just give two quick updates. The Middlesex County School Boards Association has a meeting coming up next week. It's on the September 30th at 6:30 p.m. We'll be meeting at the lovely Pines Manor in Edison, and among the speakers that night is a gentleman to my left, Mr. Bush. So if board members can make it, we've been barraged with emails.
Or someone from my office, hasn't been decided yet. Okay. I don't want anyone to be disappointed.
Trying to pump it up here, John.
Everybody at the Bush Law Group is equally good.
Thank you. So that starts at 6:30. There's a virtual option as well as an in-person option for that meeting. And then, as we all know, the State Association, the NJSBA, is having their annual workshop. This year it's on October 20th to the 23rd. There's always lots of valuable continuing education and networking opportunities for board members. So that's coming up as well. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I also just want to add to that, Dr. Zakowski and I attended the Township Council meeting earlier this week, just to welcome, everyone back to the 2025-2026 school year. It was great to connect with some of the council members. We invite them to all of, our meetings, and we look forward to working together with them throughout the entire school year. All right, at this time, can I please have a motion to approve the reports this evening?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? All the reports are accepted.
Thank you. So at this time, we will just move to a public session on agenda items only. Last week, thanks to Vice President James stepping in for me while I was not here, we had our conference meeting and we walked through our agenda, reviewed it prior to tonight's meeting. So at this time, we will just have a public session on agenda items only. If anyone from the public would like to address the board, this is now the time to speak on agenda items. We just ask that you state your name and you'll be given 3 minutes. Seeing none, can I please have a motion to close the public portion of the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? This session is closed.
Thank
I would
you.
like to, Madam President, before we go on to the consent agenda.
Yes.
There is a motion on page 20. Specifically, it's Finance 3H. It asks for approval of a contract with Schneider Electric relative to replacing the Dectron unit, which is the unit that dehumidifies, heats, air conditions, pool area. There is a over $900,000 project cost contract here. I'm going to ask the board for their patience, and we're going to table that. We have been working very closely with our construction management group, the Bancroft Group, and we've determined that there are still some questions on this project, and so we are going to table it just to ensure that, in fact, we have complete costs and accuracy in a cost estimate for this project before we approve it.
We weren't happy with the schedules of values as presented to us by the Schneider Group. So our construction management firm, we felt with their insight and their guidance, it's time we pull it rather than doing that number and then have to come back to the board and kind of looking like a change order of things that we may have omitted. So we're very happy with what's going on with our construction management view of certain things, and we asked them to look at this, and so we're going to ask you to have patience with us, but we'd rather have the correct number, the correct schedule values, than a number that was given to us by Schneider Electric.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam President.
Yes, of course, and thank you for making us aware of that. All right, Vice President James, would you please take item 12?
Yes, I move to approve the following consent agenda items: personnel, curriculum, miscellaneous, finance items 1 through 3, with the exception of finance item 3H, policy and transportation.
Second.
Okay, I'm going to take roll call now. Mr. Ali?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Ms. James?
Yes.
Ms. Keefe?
Yes.
Mr. Legori?
Yes.
Dr. Patel?
Yes.
Mr. Singh?
Yes.
Ms. Toth?
Yes.
And Mr. Wen.
Yes.
All the motions and resolutions are accepted with the exception of the one noted by Ms. James.
Excellent, thank you. All right, we can jump to page 22 of our agenda. At this time, we will have a public session on any matter. If anyone from the public within our audience would like to come up to the podium and speak on any matter, this is now the time. We just ask that you state your name and you'll be given 3 minutes. Okay, seeing none, can I please have a motion to close the public portion of the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? This public session is closed.
Thank you. At this time, we'll be motioning to go into closed session, whereas Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975, permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances. And whereas this public body is of the opinion that such circumstances presented exist, now therefore be it resolved by the North Brunswick Township Board of Education that the public shall be excluded from discussion of and action upon the hereinafter specified subject matters. The general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows. Number 1, personnel matters. Number 2, financial matters. And number 3, negotiation matters. It is at this time that the above stated subject matter shall be made public at such time as the need for non-disclosure no longer exists. This resolution shall take effect immediately. Can we please have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We can go to closed session.
Thank you.
4 months.
It's only 19. Thanks, bye.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. Can we please have a motion to return to open session?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? We're back in session.
Thank you. This time, we have a few motions to move on. So, Mr. Carter, would you please take our first motion?
Yes, Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the reimbursement for expert testimony expenses to the O'Toole Scrivo firm under the professional services contract with North Brunswick Township Board of Education in an amount not to exceed the 40% contract allotment or $56,000.
Second.
Thank you, and I am going to do roll call. Mr. Ali?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Ms. James?
Yes.
Ms. Keefe?
Yes.
Mr. Lagori?
Yes.
Dr. Patel?
Yes.
Mr. Singh?
Yes.
Ms. Toth?
Yes,
And Mr. Wen.
Yes.
The motion is approved.
thank you. Dr. Patel, would you please take the second motion?
Sure, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the reassignment of Sarah Tam from Purchasing Secretary to Interim Employee Services Support Coordinator at an annual salary of $62,151, effective October 1st, 2025. The reason for resignation of S. Bivano.
Second.
All right, here we go again. Roll call. Mr. Ali?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Ms. James?
Yes.
Ms. Keefe?
Yes.
Mr. Lagori?
Yes.
Dr. Patel?
Yes.
Mr. Singh?
Yes.
Ms. Toth?
Yes,
And Mr. Wen.
Yes.
The motion is approved.
thank
accepted.
you. Ms. Keefe, would you please move on the next motion?
Yes, Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the sidebar agreements between the North Brunswick Township Board of Education and the North Brunswick Township Education Association for the 24 to 27 contract agreement relative to Articles XIA 9A and XVA 1I and Appendix E1.
Can we have a second?
Second?
All right, roll call again. Mr. Ali?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
I have to abstain from
Thank you.
this one.
Ms. James?
Yes.
Ms. Keefe?
Yes.
Mr. Lagori?
Yes.
Dr. Patel?
Yes.
Mr. Singh?
I abstain.
Ms. Toth?
Yes,
Mr. Wen.
I abstain.
The motion still passes. Thank you.
thank you. All right, everyone. Great meeting, good to see everyone, good to have the whole team up here. At this time, we will adjourn our meeting. Can we please have a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We are adjourned.
Thank you.